Welcome back. The sexual misconduct allegation against President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanugh, is sparking plenty of reaction among voters ahead of the midterms. In Missouri last night, the crowd broke out in Kavanagh chants at a Trump campaign rally for Senate candidate Josh Hawley. Take a listen.
The president said he was going to put pro-Constitution judges on the bench, and he has. He has. Judges. That's right. That's right. Wow.
But despite support from the president's base, it's still unclear how the Kavanagh controversy will influence voters come November. Let's bring in Josh Schwerin, communications director for Democratic Super PAC Parties USA and former spokesman for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, and Sophia Nelson, former House GOP committee counsel and NBC Think contributor. Let's start with you on this, Sophia. When we look at the Kavanagh decision, and we're getting a lot of reaction at the moment in terms of the letter that was released, in terms of Dr. Ford being willing to at least offer firsthand information related to this entire incident. We don't know necessarily that means sitting in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. On the Republican side, as you know, all white men.
Yeah, look, Richard, this issue continues to rock Washington and indeed the nation. And I want to say at the outset that I don't see how the Republicans come out of this in a good way, no matter what happens. So, for example, if they hear Dr. Ford and then they hear Judge Kavanagh, and then they push the nomination through regardless of how the public feels about it or the reaction to it, that's not going to bode well for them in the midterms at all. And if they continue not to get it right from the optics and the treatment of Dr. Ford and what seems to be a rush to judgment in the opinion of some, not allowing the FBI time to investigate, I just don't see how this works out well for the GOP. Every American right now ought to go onto Twitter and look at the hashtag why I didn't report. It's going to have you in tears. It's going to have you angry and frustrated to see how prevalent, Richard, sexual abuse, assault, and date rape and those things are in our culture and have been for the last 50 years and even right with us today. And the Republicans have to deal with this, and they got to take it seriously.
Josh, as we do look towards the midterms, reflecting on what Sophia was sharing there, who does it ignite more, the Democrats or the Republicans? And of course, there could be more memes or more campaigns before the midterms hit us, the actual voting day. But as it stands right now, who do you think it energizes more?
Well, I think there are millions of women across the country who are already inclined to vote for Democrats. But when they see Republicans in the Senate and the President of the United States attacking a sexual assault victim the way that they have been, it's just going to fire them up and hurt them and anger them even more. And I do think they're going to bring that to the ballot box and take it out with their votes. And that's what they should do. And you're already seeing this in North Dakota, for instance. Kevin Cramer, who is running in a very red state, is on the defensive because he suggested that it's absurd for teenagers who are drunk to be able to be sexually assaulted. And that kind of comment from Republicans is going to be heard far and wide and is going to really hurt them in November. And they have a lot to be afraid of.
When we do look at the president, though, here, Sophia, he is out on the campaign trail. And despite the comments that have been made in the past, and then specifically with regard to Dr. Ford overnight, and we know that Senator Collins was not in favor of the comment being made coming from the president of the United States. She is a key vote for Kavanagh, clearly, on this. But when we look at those statements coming from the president, it seems like it's not affecting still his traction. And we saw it in Missouri, as well as in other states that he continues to visit on the campaign trail.
Well, two specific things. One, I don't think any of us should be surprised that President Trump lost his earlier restraint in the early part of the week and did what he did on Twitter. Here's a man who's the president of the United States, but was himself credibly accused by over a dozen women of sexual assault, harassment. He admitted on a tape, the infamous tape we all know, that he likes to grab women by certain parts of their body. So I kind of dismiss him now, which is sad because he is the president of the United States. So I expect him to say the most ridiculous, obnoxious, outrageous and insensitive things ever. That's the first point. I think the second thing here that we have to look at is what's going to happen with the Trump base versus the Democrat base, which, as your other guest said, is energized. And this, again, I'm going to go back to my earlier point, Richard. The Republicans don't come out of this winners. Judge Kavanugh, in my opinion, needs to withdraw. They need to put somebody else in here for a selection and for the Senate to review. This is just a mess at this point, and it's only going to get worse, and Trump's not helping himself or the party.
Does the Senate here, Josh, and it's been discussed, certainly it's been watching the Cook Political Report as well as other polling out, that the Senate can stay in Republican control despite some of these developments lately with the president coming out, making such statements, as well as the Kavanagh confirmation hearing coming out at the moment, that there still is some mathematics that say that in the Senate that the Republicans can maintain control despite all of the negativities that could come from these latest headlines?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the toughest maps in history for Democrats. So while we have a very good chance of taking back the House, the Senate is an uphill battle still. But what we've seen is recently polls are shifting in our favor, and momentum in a bunch of these races is absolutely favoring Democrats. And so if you're going to have close races across the country. And if you have another thing that can push a few more voters over the edge, it absolutely helps our chances to win the Senate, because right now it is difficult. No matter how good the climate is, we're running in a lot of red states. But there are voters everywhere who will not like the image, if it happens, of 11 crusty old white men yelling at a sexual assault victim in the Senate. And that's what we're facing with. And that's the kind of thing that can swing these close elections.
Sophia, yes. There's a statistic I think you know well from the Association of American Universities. 27% of female college seniors report that they have experienced some sort of sexual assault. You yesterday on Twitter also made your own declaration on why I didn't report.
Yes.
Can you share with us that experience and why many voters might be remembering this very idea? And I'm sorry, we only have about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I won't get into specifics. You can go read my Twitter feed, but I was compelled, like a lot of women and men, by the way, who shared their stories, because the reality is we don't talk about it. I just recently informed my mother and my brother about it 43 years after it happened, and I'm 51. So I understand the college statistics. I do a lot with women, as you know. I talk to young women, work with them, and this is something we've got to change in our culture, but we've got to talk to our young men, and we've got to get them to understand the drinking and touching girls and all of that has to stop, and that we have to shift the culture. And these hearings are going to do that one way or the other.
Sophia Nelson, thank you for sharing your story. Josh Warren as well, thank you for being here.